One word, and I hit you again.
I'm telling Mother.
Go. Tell her.
Hey, howdy, hey, House Targaryen, House Stark, House Lannister, people on the wall, people in King's Landing, and all that stuff. Wolfman47 Dash here. And yeah, just when we thought we were going to have more cool weather, we're not. It's another hot day again, so once again, the top is off. Yeah. So today we're going to talk about the controversial ending to Game of Thrones as part of a vlog series I'm going to call Endings Gone Wrong. As you might guess, there will be some spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled by Game of Thrones and stuff, go away from this video now, go watch Game of Thrones and then come back, or don't, just it's up to you, you can listen and whatever. So yeah, so I won't go into detail about the show in general, just that it's an amazing show based on books by George R.R. Martin, which are known as the Song of Ice and Fire saga of books. It's an unfinished series because he's still working on more books for that particular series, but they've not been released yet at the time of the upload and the time I'm actually filming this, which is it's either the 10th of July or close to the 10th of July. Anyway, so much of the show is basically just seeing this sort of the world of Game of Thrones from different perspectives of the different houses that are represented in the show, and also some other groups of people. Like there's people on the wall, which is like this sort of night watch thing that monitors the big ice wall where the Ice Walkers reside, and then there's like other little groups in that as well. And as the show goes on, with all the different betrayals, killings, incest, lovemaking, and all the other stuff that goes on, it becomes apparent that there's 3 contenders for the Iron Throne. So the first is Jon Snow, played by Kit Harington, who is part of the Night Watch and on the wall, and because of his lineage, it becomes apparent that he and his siblings, who are part of House Stark, want him to be king, because if he's king, it means that Sansa Stark can become independent with her own little kingdom, as it were. And he's a fan favourite to take the throne. So there's that. So there's him. Then there's another fan favourite until this ending, which is Daenerys Targaryen, played by Emilia Clarke. She is a fan favourite because throughout most of the show, she is pretty much doing the Harvey Weinstein effect thing, where lots of people of great power are trying to abuse her and rape her and all sorts, but she's having none of it. She takes no nonsense approach and spends much of the show liberating the world, eventually getting help from Tyrion Lannister and others to do that. And she too tries to claim the Iron Throne, eventually coming into contact with Jon Snow. And although both become in love with each other, it becomes a bit weird because Daenerys is actually Jon Snow's auntie, so it's a little bit weird there. And then the one that's not really a fan favourite, but more of a person that not many people like very much, is Cersei Lannister. And I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, played by Lena Headey. Oh, I'll put the name in the edit. Anyway, and she's basically not a fan favourite because she committed incest. She was the one responsible for Ned Stark's demise and the rise to powerful King Joffrey, who is one of the most hated characters on television. You'll know why if you do watch Game of Thrones. And she's just committed so many crimes, eventually somehow becoming the current claimant of the Iron Throne, being the queen and all that. So yeah. Now, when people say what they think is the best series of Game of Thrones, there's lots of people debating ranking the series, but generally on the whole, most people agree that seasons 1 to 6 are good, solid, not many problems whatsoever. But 7 and 8 are a bit sort of mixed to negative. So season 7, for example, is very mixed, and season 8 is negative but a little bit mixed as well. Season 8 is actually split into 6 episodes, which makes it the shortest season in the show. The first 3 episodes deal with the sort of arrival of the White Walkers who want to destroy the world and all that. And then that's dealt with, okay, but not brilliantly. And then the second half is resuming the fight for the Iron Throne, which eventually leads into a lot of different things going on. Basically trying to liberate King's Landing, which actually is the reason why the ending to Game of Thrones went wrong, because that's actually the problem most people have. You see, King's Landing, lots of fights go on with the heroes with the heroes and villains, or whoever you want to consider heroes and villains, and eventually King's Landing do sort of surrender, sort of ringing the surrender bell, but then the writers decided to make Daenerys Targaryen basically burn King's Landing to the ground despite that. And because of that, it meant a lot of her supporters died, a lot of people that were liberated died, and ultimately Cersei and Jaime Lannister also died as a result of her destruction. And then in the actual final episode to Game of Thrones, not much happens apart from lots of talking, and eventually it becomes apparent that Jon Snow and Tyrion Lannister are terrified by what Daenerys did, and ultimately choose to find a way to destroy her. Eventually, Jon Snow uses her quote unquote romance with Daenerys to basically kill her. And as a result, the one remaining dragon of hers comes about and carries her body away, but not before burning the Iron Throne, because that was basically what led to her, as the writers put it, get dragon sickness. And then there's lots of different other factors that come into play. The person that actually becomes the ruler of King's Landing is the one that not many people would ever think of ruling King's Landing and the world at large. Jon Snow is sent back to the wall. Sansa Stark's kingdom becomes independent. So things do work out for some of the characters, but ultimately it was just a bad ending. And what made it worse was that the writers were actually saying things like, "Oh, big war battles are kind of boring." Have you ever seen Lord of the Rings? Have you ever seen Chronicles of Narnia, Pirates of the Caribbean, Star Wars? You know, because even though not those franchises are not brilliant, or sorry, didn't mean by that. I meant they're not perfect, but they do have some great battle scenes. You can't deny that. But the dust has settled now with the Game of Thrones ending. People still rave about it, and although less people are sort of although there's a lot more parents that are not calling their child Daenerys after what happened, people still have a grudge against the writers for making the ending what it was. Some of the cast and crew actually do have mixed opinions about it, like Kit Harington is against people that think the ending wasn't great, and Emilia Clarke is sort of mixed because she was actually terrified of the thought of having a character become a villain in the way that she does, but she did it anyway, and just a lot of factors fall into play. but I still enjoy Game of Thrones. It's a fantastic series. May not be to everybody's taste, especially because it being HBO, nothing's off limits. Everything that you can, everything you'd want to expect from an 18 rated show, you get. You know, sex, nudity, violence, profanity, but because it's a fantasy setting, not drugs per se, but alcohol's consumed, so there's that. And I actually do have a few Game of Thrones merchandise. I'll put a photo in the edit of the stuff that I've got from that. It's a few Pop Funko figures, the actual Iron Throne itself, a collector's edition of the Blu-rays, and yeah, all that stuff. So I consider myself a fan, and House of the Dragon was good. I think that kind of made the fans forget that the finale was a thing. And I can't think of anything else to say on that, other than check the show out, make your own conclusions as to whether you like Game of Thrones or not. It is an interesting series for sure, one that a lot of people enjoy, but also is also something that not many people will get or understand. I know a few friends of mine have never seen it, and or have seen it but only seen like 1 or 2 episodes and not really sure if they would want to continue watching it. I don't know if George R. R. Martin will finish the book series off. I hope he does, because people have been waiting for the final book for a while. So yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, give it a like. If you want to share what you think about the Game of Thrones ending and also other endings you'd like me to take a look at, leave down in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. I should say that although this vlog series is going to be called Endings Gone Wrong, it doesn't mean the franchise at large is bad. It's just the ending could have, in my opinion, could have been a bit better. It's not just endings that are generally bad or confusing or whatever. It's just my own opinion on that. And I've got a few ideas for that come on the way. So yeah. Anyway, thank you again. See you in the next one. Peace to you all, and remember, a Lannister always pays their debts. I don't know what the mottos of the other houses are, but I know the Lannisters always pay their debts, or try to. Anyway, bye-bye.